was halfway unloading boxes from my truck when she showed up. Sunglasses on, arms folded, lips tight like she smelled something bad. "This area is private property," she snapped. "You can't just drive in here like you own the place." I didn't even respond. I just looked at the mailbox with my name on it and kept pulling out the stroller. That's when she stomped toward me and yelled, "I'm calling the cops. This isn't your neighborhood." I didn't flinch. She dialed 911 right there in front of me and said, loud on purpose, "Yes, there's a suspicious man trespassing on our lakefront homes, possibly dangerous." I could hear her fake breathing like she was scared. My daughter peeked from the back seat whispering, "Daddy, is she mad?" I calmly closed the truck door. "No, sweetheart. She just doesn't know who she's talking to." 10 minutes later, 2 patrol cars rolled in fast. Karen stood proud like she'd saved the community. But the moment one of the officers stepped out and looked at me, his whole face changed. "Captain?" he asked. I walked forward and slowly pulled out my federal badge. Karen's face dropped like someone unplugged her. The same officer turned to her and said, "Ma'am, you just called 911 on a federal judge." Karen's mouth opened, but no words came out. Her eyes jumped from the badge in my hand to the cop's face and then back to me. "The federal judge?" She stuttered. "You're lying. There's no way." The officer turned to her, voice sharp now. "Ma'am, you just made a false emergency report. That's a serious offense." Karen's fake fear vanished fast. "Wait, I didn't know. He doesn't look like a judge." Her voice cracked. "He had a truck and those boxes." I raised an eyebrow. "So now judges can't move their own furniture?" The younger cop stepped forward, a little nervous. "Sir, do you want to press charges?" Karen gasped. "What?" "I was just trying to protect the community." She pulled out a paper from her purse, a fake HOA document with her signature. "This is an HOA neighborhood. He never filed paperwork to live here." I took the paper, looked at it once, and smiled. "This neighborhood doesn't even have an HOA," I said. "I personally signed the order dissolving it 3 years ago." Karen looked like she'd seen a ghost. The cop asked again, "Sir, how do you want to handle this?" I didn't answer right away. I just looked at Karen, then at my daughter holding her teddy bear tight, confused and scared. "Not yet," I said. "Let her keep digging her own grave." Karen wasn't done. Her voice suddenly turned bold again, trying to regain control. "He's dangerous," she shouted. "I saw a gun in his truck." The moment she said that, the second officer walked calmly toward my truck, while the first one stayed near me. "Is there a firearm, sir?" he asked. I nodded slowly. "Yes, locked in the glove box, registered under my name. I'm licensed in all 50 states. The younger cop stopped in his tracks, turned back and glanced at his partner. Karen's plan had just backfired again. "You're gonna let him carry a gun into this neighborhood?" she snapped. "What kind of system is this?" I looked straight at her and said quietly, "The kind that doesn't bend to bullies with fake power." My daughter tugged at my shirt. "Daddy, are they taking us away?" My chest tightened. I crouched beside her and whispered, "No, baby. No one's taking us anywhere. This is our home now." Just then, a neighbor stepped out from across the street, an older black man in a wheelchair, watching silently. "That lady's been harassing every new family for years," he called out. "Even filed a noise complaint on my oxygen machine last winter." Karen spun around. "That's not true. He's lying." But more doors opened. Another neighbor. Then another. One woman held up her phone and said, "I've got videos. She slashed tires last month and blamed teenagers." Karen's hands started shaking. "This is harassment. You're all attacking me." But now the spotlight was on her, and she was cracking. The older officer finally broke his silence. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to step aside. We're receiving conflicting information." Karen backed away slowly, still trying to control the moment. "You don't know who I am," she snapped. "I'm on the HOA board. I run this neighborhood." I didn't say a word. I just reached into my backpack and pulled out a thin leather folder, handed it to the officer. He opened it, looked at the papers, then glanced at me, and nodded. Karen leaned forward, trying to peek, but the officer firmly blocked her view. "That's private," he said. "What is it?" she barked. "You have no right." I calmly stepped between her and the officer. "It's the original deed to this property, along with the court ruling from last month. HOA has no authority over this land. I bought it directly from the city." Karen went pale. The neighbors stared. The female cop tilted her head. You own this lot. Fully? I nodded. The HOA tried to stop the sale. I won in court. Karen's voice cracked. They said it was temporary. That ruling was being appealed. I looked her dead in the eyes. It was denied. 3 days ago. Her jaw dropped. The older officer handed her a warning notice. Until you provide legal proof of HOA jurisdiction, you are not authorized to interfere with this property or its owners. Karen's voice dropped to a whisper. This isn't over. I gave her a calm smile. It never even started, Karen. Karen didn't leave. She stood across the street, arms crossed, whispering into her phone with shaking hands. I tried to ignore her, unloading the final boxes from my truck. My wife texted, "Be careful. She's still watching you." 10 minutes later, a black unmarked SUV rolled up fast, way too fast for a regular visit. Out jumped 2 men, one with a clipboard and another with a fake badge swinging around his neck. "Sir, this is an active zoning violation," the man with the clipboard said. "This land has been deemed restricted by the Lakeshore HOA. You are ordered to cease all construction and vacate." I raised an eyebrow. "You're not from the city, and that's not a real badge." The second guy stepped closer. "Don't test us." But I wasn't moving. "Who sent you?" I asked. They didn't answer. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "Say that again for the camera." The fake officer panicked and reached for my arm. Bad move. In 2 seconds, I had him face down in the dirt. The other guy ran. Real cops arrived just 2 minutes later. Neighbors had already called. Karen tried to pretend she didn't know the men. "I have no idea who they are," she yelled. But one of them had her number saved on his phone, and he was dumb enough not to lock it. The officer scrolled, looked at her, and said one sentence that shut her mouth for good. "You paid them to impersonate law enforcement?" Karen froze. My phone kept recording. The real cop separated us. Karen sat on the curb, shaking and trying to explain herself. "I was just protecting the community." "He didn't belong here," she shouted, pointing at me. One of the officers laughed under his breath. "Ma'am, this man is a decorated federal agent. He has more clearance than we do." Her face drained. She looked around, but now the neighbors were stepping outside. Cameras in hand. One man from down the street yelled, "You told us he was a squatter." A woman added, "You said he forged documents. I checked the public land registry. He owns the whole back half of the lake." Karen stood up and screamed, "He's lying. This isn't how we do things here." But nobody was listening to her anymore. One by one, neighbors backed away from her. Some even apologized to me. The officer with the body cam said, "We're charging her with filing a false police report, attempted trespassing, and impersonating public authority through a third party." As they walked her to the patrol car, she screamed, "You can't do this. I run this neighborhood." The officer turned and said, "Not anymore." My wife held my arm, silent, but I could feel her breath shaking. I whispered, "It's over. She's exposed now." That was the first moment I actually felt like I belonged. 3 days later, I showed up at the HOA emergency meeting. Not as a guest, but as a federal investigator under special assignment. Karen didn't know I had already submitted a full report with the body cam footage, neighbor testimonies, and the forged HOA letter she taped to my door. The entire room was packed. Some board members looked pale. Others wouldn't make eye contact. I stood calmly at the front and played the security. Footage I had pulled from my drone. Yes, the same drone Karen had screamed at on day 1. It showed her walking onto my property, pulling off the official HOA stickers, and replacing them with fake warnings printed from her home printer. There was audio too. "Let's make this guy disappear before he ruins our clean little lake club." Her voice echoed in the silent room. One board member whispered, "We had no idea." Karen sat frozen in the corner, clutching her purse like it could protect her. Then I dropped the last twist. "I'm not just moving in here. I was sent to investigate HOA, corruption tied to land tampering near protected lakes." The silence cracked wide open. Someone stood and clapped, then another, and another. Karen bolted from the room, but her car was already impounded. I turned to the board. "This isn't just about me. It's about power being abused, and I'm not letting that slide anymore." That was the first time I saw Karen run, and not toward control, but away from consequence. A week later, I finally moved into my lakefront home, not under threat, Not with fear, but with quiet pride. My pregnant wife stood beside me on the porch, watching the sun melt over the water, her hand resting on her belly. No screaming Karen, no fake notices, just peace. Some of the neighbors who once avoided eye contact now came forward. They brought cookies, apologized, said they were scared of her too. One older man shook my hand and said, "You didn't just protect your house. You gave us our voice back." I just smiled and looked at the flag waving on my porch. I didn't spend 15 years serving this country just to be bullied. Off my own land, Karen. She was arrested for impersonating HOA authority, trespassing, and filing a false police report. Turns out she'd done this before in 2 other neighborhoods. Just never to the wrong guy. As I walked my wife inside, she looked at me and whispered, "It's over, right?" I nodded. "Yeah, and this time, we win." That night I stood alone on my deck, the wind brushing against my face, and I thought, land should mean freedom, not fear, and for the first time since I bought this place, it finally did.